Good morning, Good morning, everyone. Vegas Trader 66, Tim at AlphaWolfTrading.com, coming at you with the pre-market prep. Normally, this is something I do for the pro members each and every day, and I do free Friday. But tomorrow the market's closed, so doing free Thursday today. Anyway, so markets have been really kind of choppy. We have really neither the bears or the bulls have taken real control of the market. We're just kind of in a limbo state, and we've got earnings kicking off today with some banks, and that could set the near-term tone of the markets. But I got to tell you, we did see some weakness yesterday in some leading sectors. SMH closed nearly, or I think closed right at the low of the day. That has been a very strong sector, one of the leaders. Seeing some weakness there. Transportation's had a significant pullback yesterday. IWM gave back almost everything that we gained, or actually gave back more than everything we gained the day prior. So there is some, and the financials, the ETF for the financials, the bull ETF is looking fairly bearish. So we'll see how these earnings come in. We'll see what they do with the markets. Everything isn't all bad. I mean, we did have some earnings out of, some guidance, I should say, out of AAOI last night. We'll get to that in a minute. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the stocks that are on my radar for the market open. So, first of all, I think you need to keep an eye on the dollar as well. The dollar showed some weakness yesterday after Trump said the dollar was too strong. We saw an immediate pullback, and that gave a little bit of a boost, or a continued boost, to gold. Nugget and GDX have been the mining ETFs that have moved the best off of gold's recent rise, and the junior miner ETFs have been lagging. So if gold continues to rise, if the dollar continues to fall, I do think that JNUG and GDXJ will play catch up to Nugget and GDX. So worth keeping an eye on gold and the minor ETFs. Also want to keep an eye on volatility, which has started to creep back into the markets because of all the geopolitical uncertainty and some of the other stuff that's been going on out there in the market. So keep an eye on UVXY and TVIX. With financials hitting the earnings hitting the wires today for some of the big institutions, it would probably make sense to keep an eye on FAS and FAZ for potential day trade or scalp opportunities. And then if the IWM really breaks down between, I think below, well, let's just take a look at the IWM real quick. If the IWM breaks down below 133, right, 132.50, with some real volume or conviction, I think that could be worth, actually not the IWM, but TZA could be something to keep an eye on for a potential trading opportunity. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the stocks to watch. This RETA, which only has 2.4 million shares in the float and 47% short interest. Recent IPO, was just given a price target of $55 by Landenberg Thalmann. Not sure who they are, but initiated coverage on Reata Pharmaceuticals with a buy rating and a $55 price target. Now look, you don't want to chase something like this with 2.4 million shares in the float. And I don't think that it was actually doing anything in pre-market, but I'm going to double check that right now, RETA, it is not doing anything in pre-market. So, worth keeping an eye on this for a potential day trade scalp opportunity, but you want to see some real volume. You want to see some liquidity in there. And, yesterday this stock only traded 31,000 shares. That's not exactly a lot of liquidity, and could make it challenging to get in and out of. So be careful there if you decide to try and play that. But could be interesting because of the low float and the lofty price target. WIN was just looking at this one because they acquired Broadview Networks. It looks like it could be accretive, and they could save. There could be some synergies there, but this is not a good-looking chart. Below a 200-day declining moving average, below the 50 EMA, SMA declining moving averages. And, look, they're using some cash to buy this company, all cash deal. Probably going to see, I would think, more weakness in the near term. 85 million shares in the float, 25% short interest. Could there be a day trading opportunity there? Potentially, but I do not like the daily chart on this. Could be a double bottom test. Developing, maybe at $5 it becomes more compelling. I don't know, but there could be some action there. I would not chase that, but and really not crazy about the technical setup. CRSP had some PR this morning. It doesn't appear to be doing anything off of that PR. At least it wasn't when I looked at it. Let me take a look again. CRSP. It's not doing anything. And this is another one that has got a very tiny daily average of shares traded hands, right? 20,000 shares traded hands yesterday. It does have a kind of an interesting looking setup here. 18 appears to be kind of holding as potential price support. It is consolidating, but very, very light volume. Very tough, I think, to take a trade in this one as well. But if you get some real volume, where you get like a 500,000 share spike or something like that, then maybe there could be an intraday setup or trade somewhere in there. So worth keeping an eye on CRSP. Okay. RVLT just reported a contract, secures a new agreement for Connecticut's Small Business Energy Advantage program. So that I don't actually think that is a contract. Let's see what this is here. Energy is named contractor within the Small Business Energy United Illuminating program designed to help commercial and industrial customers peak energy. Latest contract award. So it looks as though this gives them to be an opportunity to be a vendor. So let's see. That kind of looks a little bit fluffy to me. This recently had a nice little pop 3-day run, pulling back on lower volume. It is overbought. This can be a pop and flopper. Right? I think it becomes more interesting or more compelling. Well, potentially you could see some support around 825. Let me see if RVLT is not doing anything in pre-market. 825, even 775, looking for an area of potential price support there. 12 million shares in the float, 7% short interest. Has all the makings of something that could get a little wacky, but don't chase it. Look for an intraday setup. There could be a day trade in there somewhere. And like I said, it has had in the past some pop and flop type action, so you got to be a little bit careful. But I will also say this, just kind of off the cuff here, does look as though it's broken this long-term trend line that it was in. So maybe starting a new trend on this one. Could be a day trade or a swing. Probably need to do a little more due diligence on this, see what the balance sheet looks like. Only traded 90,000 shares yesterday. You know, don't get involved in this thing unless you've got some real volume coming in. But worth keeping an eye on RVLT. CITO, looks like there's some insiders or a couple individuals that are trying to take this company over. I didn't read the entire headline. Could it be a day trading opportunity? Potentially. 14.9 million shares in the float, only traded 66,000 shares the other day, a million shares a couple of days prior. So if it gets some volume, you know, this is a potential takeout candidate. I didn't see what the potential takeout price would be, or it looks like they're trying to take control of the company. Maybe that's what it was. So, you know, look, worth keeping an eye on it for a potential trading opportunity. Day trade, I wouldn't want to hold that one overnight, especially heading into a long holiday weekend, but worth keeping an eye on. SITO. Geo announcing a $100 million contract for a facility in Texas. Boy, that would have been one of the all-time great trade, right? I actually bought Geo at 1650 or 1660, somewhere in that area. When I had this big spike down, I kept it for, you know, a couple of days. What a terrible thing to do. Should have kept some shares because that thing was like the trade of the century, actually. But anyway, here we are now. Just announced a $100 million contract. You know, it's been consolidating a little bit here. Could see some action in this one. 45 million shares in the float. Not a big short interest. It's, you know, I don't think it's cheap here. Could there be a day trade there? Potentially. Let me see if it's doing anything pre-market. GEO is not doing anything pre-market as of yet, but could potentially go up and do a $50 test, right? Or come up into this $50 holla region and see if maybe you get a 50 test and roll. Worth keeping an eye on, Geo. And it could be a swing, could be a day trade. It really depends on your comfort level and how comfortable you are with Geo. But I think business is probably going to wind up picking up for them with this new administration. EYES. So, you know, there was recently a buy of 4.5 million shares at 95 cents by an insider. That's a pretty significant buy. Just reported that they just did their first implant, I think, in China or Asia, or implant in Asia. Okay, so getting a little bit of a pop on this to about $1.35. Retesting this area of resistance. We just had a pop there and it flopped. Now, EYES is another one that has a history of being a pop and flopper. So be very careful. Could there be a day trading opportunity there? Potentially. I would look for a pullback maybe to 125, something like that. See if it acts as support and then a bounce. 13 million shares in the float, 30% short interest. Worth keeping an eye on, eyes, for a potential day trade. Do not chase it. NPTN, I just looked at this one only because of AAOI. Just looking at a couple of names that could potentially run in sympathy with AAOI, which is gapping quite a bit. Let me see where it's at right now. AAOI is gapping at $50. Now, AAOI was $60 not too long ago. NPTN does not have a good looking chart here. I mean, could it get some action in sympathy with AAOI? It could, but I would be looking at that strictly as a day trade. Let's go ahead and look at AAOI. You know, this had a pretty dramatic drop. And basically what it did was almost came down and filled this gap, right, that it had on the daily time frame. It's been in a pretty consistent downtrend, and we're getting quite a gap this morning up to $50. So, you know, this is an area of potential resistance. I would not be chasing AAOI. Look for maybe a red to green type move off the open, but definitely getting a nice move off of that guidance. And the other thing that we can look at is maybe not so much taking AAOI, but look at something like OCLR, which also has a tendency to run in sympathy with AAOI. And I believe OCLR is already getting a little bit of action pre-market, and it's already pulling back. It got up to about $9.17 and is pulling back already, but back below $9. It's down to $8.89. I think maybe it gets compelling if this gets down to about $8.60. See if that holds as support. We've got a trend line there. We've got the 200-day moving average there. This could be more of a swing than a day trade. 144 million shares in the float, 26% short interest. And let me see where this trend line actually lines up here. Yeah, 850. I think 850 could be pretty interesting area of potential support. Could be a good bounce spot. Okay, worth keeping an eye on that one. All right, what else do we have going on? Let me blast through here. GLBS, I just looked at this only because they filed for a shelf registration. So this one is probably is a no touch until you find out what that is going to price at. I just put the note on there that they filed. SSNI was getting a little bit of a bounce. Not a good looking chart. Below the 200-day, below a declining 50 EMA, SMA. Some recent insider selling, so I'm not crazy about this chart, but it had some. It was on. I don't know. I saw something somewhere, and it got me looking at it. I think it might have been a pre-market mover on very small volume. So I just taking a look at it, but not interested really in a trade there. IIVI was getting a little bit of a bounce. It looked like that's not a good looking chart either. Kind of got a nice big fat double top there, but it was maybe this one. Getting a pop up to $32, but no volume. $32.60 it looks like, which happens to be an area of price resistance, right? Look, support, resistant, or I'm sorry, support and resistance. So it's gapping right up into that on light volume. We'll see if that continues to act as resistance. AMRS is getting a spike here of 7.9% on high volume. Now this spiked yesterday, broke over this trend line, came right up into the 200-day moving average, and now it's getting some follow through, and I'm not sure why. I just happened to see this headline come across. It's a penny play. Could be worth keeping an eye on. Manta ordered 2 task orders. Okay, so let me see if there's a headline for this AMRS. I do not see anything. It's just spiking. So, not sure why it's spiking. They just filed a non-timely 10K on April 3rd, which is not typically a good thing. So, I don't know. Not sure why AMRS is popping. Day trade op only. Likely going to have some resistance. Let me see where this thing is at. AMRS. Okay, so it's up to 61 cents, right? So not like this thing is ripping. It's up to 61 cents. There's some, right to an area of potential price resistance. 67 cents, I think you have more resistance there. Could it tap that? Sure, it could tap that, but I would be careful with this AMRS unless some significant news comes out. All right, let's see what else we have going on here. BVXV. No. AGEN. So AGEN just had a insider buy, fairly significant. 100,000 shares, $3.35. Not a good looking chart in a downtrend, below the 200-day moving average, below the 50 EMA, 50 SMA. But there has been a lot of insider buying. Now, AGEN really wasn't responding to that. Okay, it is responding a little bit. A little bit of action, up to about $3.59 in pre-market, 59 cents. We've got some price resistance in that area. It's going to have to contend with this trend line. It's going to have to contend with the 50-day moving averages, right around $4 on the 50 SMA. You've got some resistance here, some decent resistance, price resistance at the 380 mark. Again, I wouldn't chase this, but there could be an intraday setup and an opportunity for a day trade. Pull back to, I'm looking at a pivot of 339. I'm looking at a pivot of 332. 332 was the high of yesterday, it appears. 334. Okay, so that could be an area to pull back and bounce from. Worth keeping an eye on. Okay, AMRS reports Biossance delivered record first quarter sales. Okay, so expected to drive much better than expected. Wow, AMRS could really pop. Supposed to drive much better than expected results. Okay, let me just show you here. Says Biossance brand expected to drive much better than expected 2017 results. So first quarter record sales. This could be interesting. That definitely could be in play today. What was the float on that? 47 million shares, almost 20% short interest. Amyris says Biossance product sales growth expected to more than double versus what it was originally planned in 2017. So we'll see. That could definitely be in play. And definitely worth watching. Could be a good opportunity there. All right, let me get back to what I was talking about here. AGEN. So look, I wouldn't chase this. Could there be a day trading opportunity there? Absolutely. Worth keeping an eye on. 73 million shares in the float, 15% short interest. ADPT, no, not interested in that one. All right, so VSTM. We saw this last night. This got an upgrade with a $6 price target. It's at an area where it could potentially find a bounce here. Oppenheimer put a $6 price target on it. You've got H.C. Wainwright, which has a $6.50 price target on it, which they just raised from $5. It is pulling back to an area of potential support for a bounce. Could be worth watching for a day trade. 36 million shares in the float. I kind of like this setup for a potential bounce off the 50 EMA. Let me see if I've got anything else here. You know what? I think that's probably sufficient. Um, oh, OCRX. Hold on a second. OCRX. It's had a little bit of news last night. It's already gapping pre-market. Bum, 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 bum. Gapped up to about $2 last night. It's currently sitting at about $1.68. So $2 is right where the 200-day moving average is, which makes sense that it acts as resistance there. And then we have some little bit of price support here in this 165 area. Look, if this pulls back, let me delete this. Pulls back to $1.35 and holds a support, maybe that's a good area to take it for a potential bounce day trade opportunity. 14 million shares in the float, 11% short interest, so it does have some squeezability potential. Worth keeping an eye on OCRX for a day trading opportunity. And then, you know what, I don't think I talked about Red Hill, RDHL. Had some news this morning. It's bumping up against, first of all, it's trying to get a $10 roll, right? But this is also a thin, it only traded 32,000 shares yesterday. So very light liquidity there. Had some news. Let me see. It wasn't getting any action pre-market. Let me see if it is now. RDHL. All right, it's a little bit of action. 1025. Look, if it takes out 1050 with some conviction, with some real volume, could be a nice scalp opportunity or day trade opportunity there. Worth keeping an eye on RDHL. And all right, so I'm going to do one more, and this is actually one that I'm looking to get involved with. Katos this is more of a swing or long-term hold. Great. Converts Russian T-72 tank to unmanned operations system division, installs remote control kit in a T-72 tank. All right. So yesterday I was trying to get this. I have a limit buy at $7.10 on this for a starter position, my long-term hold portfolio. And of course, they came out with some news today, which I didn't see till just now. And let's see what this is doing. It's not doing anything. Good. Hope it pulls back. I get my fill. I like the sector, and they just did an offering at $7.25. So they're not going to need to raise capital anytime soon. It's pulling back to this trend line. You got the 200-day sloping up. I like the setup on this, and if I can get it as close to $7 as possible to start building a long-term hold position, I think it's worth dipping the toe. And that's it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and get it out. If you like what I do here, come join us over at AlphaWolfTrading.com. We do this every single morning. Do a market wrap every afternoon. We've got a good chat room, nice educational program. I don't spend a lot of time promoting this service. I really don't. You don't see me out there promoting it. But if you're serious about wanting to get involved and learning how to trade, swing trade, day trade, long-term investing, hit me up. Send me an email at tim@alphawolftrading.com. Be happy to answer any questions you might have. I will be doing a list of stocks to watch this weekend. Look for it on the blog. All right. Good luck trading today. Have a wonderful, awesome, fantastic weekend. And I'll see you all next week.